Hi there everyone, I'm John Ray and I'm president of the Alpharetta Business Association, and I'm here with our July Member of the Month, Chris Miller. And Chris is with NorthFultonWills.com, and we're here in his office right across the street from Avalon. Hello Chris, how are you?
It's good to see you, John. How are you?
It's great. Good to be with you, and congratulations on being our Member of the Month.
Well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your practice. Obviously, with NorthFultonWills.com is your website. You obviously work with wills and trusted estates, but talk a little bit about your practice.
Sure. I've been doing estate planning and estate administration work in Alpharetta for the past 17 years, my entire career. I started over on Haynesbridge Road and went to Preston Ridge Road, and now I'm right across from the Avalon. My practice is focused on helping people figure out how assets get transferred from one generation to the next. And if you're planning, that means coming up with a will or a trust. And we talk a little bit about powers of attorney and healthcare directives. How do you set it up so that somebody has the authority to make decisions for you if you pass away? The other half of my practice is devoted to estate administration. I help clients who have lost a family member and work through the process of probate. How do you walk through the probate court? How do you figure out whether beneficiary designations apply to assets? Who owns the property and who has the right to sell it going forward? I do a lot of work with real estate lawyers on that point, trying to make sure that they can close on the property.
Okay, now let's get to I think the burning question maybe a lot of folks have, because everybody's seen the advertisements for, we won't mention any names, but they're the online legal services that
Sure.
supposedly have all the answers for not very much money. So talk about the value that you provide relative to those seemingly quick and easy services.
Right. Well, when you go online and try and do your own will, or use one of the software programs that they've got available, you can download. What you're doing at that point is responding to a series of questions that somebody who isn't with you has lined up to ask. And if you don't know the terms that they're using, or if you can't respond and ask questions, then what you put into that software program or what you give to the legal services, that is what comes back to you in terms of choosing the right executor, deciding whether you want a trustee or not, picking a guardian for your kids. Those are all really important decisions, and it helps to have a conversation about that. So my job is to be here and be that sounding board to help you figure out the right answer in providing for your family members. A will really is what controls the person who's in charge when you pass away, and that's really the most important part of a will.
And I guess the internet never asks you, have you thought of this, right? I mean, there's no, as you say, there's no interaction. The internet certainly doesn't call you back if laws change, right?
Well, that's true, and laws are changing all the time. For example, Georgia's legislature just adopted the Uniform Power of Attorney Act. And so our forms are changing all the time.
So, I think that maybe that's one thing people maybe don't get. They do a will, assuming they have a will, and a lot of people don't.
Right.
But assuming they have a will, they do it and think it's maybe a document that's got a long life itself, when in fact not only state laws change, but federal laws change, right?
Right, and old wills can do just as much harm as they can do good. In a lot of cases, clients will bring in a will that's 10 or 15 years old and that sets up a bypass trust, or what we used to call a credit shelter trust, to save estate taxes. There were a lot of documents drafted in the 1990s and the 2000s when estate taxes applied to a lot of people that set up those bypass trusts. And now that the estate tax exemption has risen so far so fast, and now that the estate tax exemption is portable between spouses, you don't necessarily want a bypass trust. You can wind up leaving your kids with a larger capital gains tax burden and still a zero estate tax, whether or not you do the bypass trust. So yes, using a computer system to set up your will, it's better probably than nothing, but having somebody who keeps up with the changes in the law and can talk through where the pitfalls lie is, I think, worth time.
So you talked about how you help clients through the probate process. I mean, I would imagine that's I think you said walking through the probate process. I would imagine that people can really get bogged down in the probate process if they don't have some expertise on their side.
Well, having knowledge of how each probate court functions and having the knowledge of what form to use. The probate court website has probably 50 or 55 different forms to use depending on the circumstances that are applying. And what you want to do is file the right form the first time, right? Because the family members are usually asked to consent to the form of the petition being filed. And I have had clients walk through my office having already been through the probate court and getting their petition thrown back at them saying it's not the right form. So we start over again. And having that knowledge and the experience in working with the different courts in the Atlanta metro area, I think makes a lot of difference and makes the process a lot more smooth. Having an attorney also gives you the chance, again, to ask questions. And when you try and ask questions of the probate clerk, they'll tell you they're not authorized to give legal advice. So that it's worth sitting down just for a consultation, even if you're planning on filing the petition on your own. Just ask questions and get a task list, a series of ideas on how to make the process go smoothly and with less conflict among family members as possible. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Now let's switch gears and talk to we've got a lot of members who are in the sandwich generation. You know, they have children and then that they're caring for, and then parents. Talk very briefly, if you will, give them some advice about how they should deal with parents when it comes to planning for end times.
Well, it's tough to bring up that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's tough to have that conversation. Some parents are enthusiastic about sharing what's going on, and some parents are very withdrawn and reserved about not wanting their kids to think about inheriting property too soon. And I get that. I think one of the ways to approach that conversation is to say to the parent or ask them, here's what I'm thinking about doing with my own plan, right? Start it with an I statement. I'm working on choosing an agent to be someone to make my decisions in a power of attorney. I'm choosing an executor to manage my will or a guardian for my kids. And what have you done on those lines? And that kind of opens up the conversation and lets your parents feel more comfortable about talking with you about what their ideas are and where they have put their planning emphasis.
Sounds like great advice, Chris. Now, for those that would like more information and maybe want to be in touch with you, tell them how to do that.
Sure. The easiest way is just to pick up the phone. My phone number is 678-746-2900. You'll probably speak first with my office manager, Amanda, or my associate, Mariana. They're great people to help answer your questions. They'll set up an appointment on my calendar and come in to meet with me. I'd don't charge for initial consultations and would be glad to spend 20 or 30 minutes talking through what I can do for you.
Great. Well, Chris, congratulations again for being our member of the month. You're a great member of ABA. Come to all of our meetings. We appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure visiting with you.
Thank you very much, John. I
Thank you.
appreciate being
Thanks.
recognized.
Thanks, Chris.